A couple of months ago, a few days after the draft, I came out with a segment saying who I thought was going to win the quarterback battle for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I said it was going to be Kenny Pickett. And a lot of people were upset with that because they kept saying, oh, JT, Kenny Pickett isn't ready. He needs to sit behind Mitchell Trubisky for a year. And I was like, okay. Then we get to training camp and Kenny Pickett starts out as quarterback 3. And I say, all right, it doesn't really matter. He's going to end up showing us what he can do when the preseason rolls around. So the preseason gets here. He dominates against Seattle. And then week 2 against Jacksonville Jaguars, he goes 6-7, throws for 76 passing yards, 1 touchdown and no picks. And at this point, why are we still having this conversation? Kenny Pickett has showed not just me, but all of us that he has what it takes to be the starting quarterback come week 1 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And yet, people still keep saying, oh, he isn't ready. He shouldn't start right away. Like, bro, Kenny Pickett is having a very good preseason and also a very good training camp. The preseason is where your young rookie quarterbacks shine. Dak Prescott was very good in the preseason. We saw what he did. Russell Wilson, in a similar situation. His rookie season for Seattle, he was battling out with Matt Flynn. He dominated the preseason. He started over Matt Flynn. Like, I don't really understand why people keep pushing back on Kenny Pickett starting week 1. If Kenny Pickett has to start week 1, it's not the end of the world. As a matter of fact, that's what should happen. Kenny Pickett was a first-round pick for a reason. He was the first quarterback taken off the board for a reason. And on top of that, let's stop acting like he's 22 or 21 years old. The dude is 24 years old, about to be 25. He should be starting by at least this year or midway throughout this season. And I don't understand the narrative that people keep saying he needs to sit for a year and learn behind Mitchell Trubisky. Like, bro, what the hell is Kenny Pickett going to learn from Mitchell Trubisky? That's something that I never understood. Jordan Love has been learning behind Aaron Rodgers for the last couple of years and still doesn't look all that great. How many backup quarterbacks have sat and learned behind Tom Brady? And yet, what have they done ever since? You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't think Kenny Pickett needs to sit and learn when he's good enough to start. If you have somebody who's good enough to play, you play the best player. You don't play politics. And I feel like a lot of people are trying to make this a little bit more political simply for the fact that you want to see Mitchell Trubisky get another opportunity to show what he can do with a great franchise. And I understand that. And I want to see Mitchell Trubisky succeed also. And Mitchell Trubisky has also had a pretty solid camp and a really good preseason. But let's not deny and say that Kenny Pickett hasn't had a better camp or preseason than Mitchell Trubisky. Let's be honest. Now, we can say, well, JT, I mean, we need to see what Kenny Pickett can do with more first-team reps and whatnot. I mean, Kenny Pickett was throwing to Deontay Johnson and Pat Freiermuth. And then on top of that, he had Deontay Johnson on a touchdown before going into halftime. What more do you need to see out of Kenny Pickett for him to earn the right to be the starter? Because at this point, I think if you're Mike Tomlin, the clear-cut winner of this quarterback competition is Kenny Pickett. Now, is this an easy decision to make? It's not, because Mitchell Trubisky has also been pretty good. But the fact that Mitchell Trubisky has had a really good training camp and a really good preseason, and yet Kenny Pickett is also having a really good training camp and really good preseason, the fact that he's outperforming a veteran that's performing at a pretty high level, and he's doing this as a rookie, shows you that he's good enough to start week 1, people. Give Kenny Pickett the opportunity to start week 1 against Cincinnati. Because you can't say he's not ready, but yet he hasn't showed us anything that says that he's not ready. You feel me? It's like there's nothing wrong with sitting for a year. But people act like a quarterback sitting for the year is the formula to having success long-term in the league, when there's plenty of other quarterbacks who have sat for plenty of years and still been boo-boo. So I think for Kenny Pickett, I think we've seen enough to know that Kenny Pickett is good enough to be the starting quarterback come week 1 for Pittsburgh if they are comfortable with rolling him along against Cincinnati. However, if they feel like he still needs a little bit more time and he still needs to learn a little bit more of the playbook, I can understand that. But if you're asking me who the better quarterback is right now, it's Kenny Pickett. And Mitchell Trubisky, this isn't a slight against him. He's had a really good preseason and a really good training camp. It's just that Kenny Pickett has just been so phenomenal. It's like, how can you not notice? And you got to remember that week 1 preseason matchup against Seattle was with the third string. He didn't have guys on the second and first team who are most likely going to make the roster that he was throwing the football to. He was throwing the football to guys who are fighting for a roster spot. Guys who may not ever play football at the NFL level again. And he was making it look easy and had a game-winning drive. I mean, Kenny Pickett has showed time in and time out that he deserves the opportunity to be the starting quarterback for Pittsburgh come week 1. And I really don't understand why Pittsburgh wouldn't do it. You spent a first-round pick on him for a reason. You should want your rookie quarterback dominating the preseason and setting himself up to start week 1. I think that this quarterback competition is kind of going a little bit better than how I imagined it. Because I didn't think Mitchell Trubisky was going to perform this well. And this decision is going to be pretty tough. But at the same time, who would you rather start? The young rookie with a lot of upside, or the veteran that has a somewhat above average ceiling at best if he hits on everything and he gets developed properly? I think you got to go with Kenny Pickett. Why not go with the young gun? Because there's only so much that you can learn from sitting on the bench. And I don't think that Kenny Pickett is going to learn any more from Mitchell Trubisky than what he can learn on the field. And the only way to really get better as a player isn't just by sitting on the sideline. It's by getting in the game, getting some in-game action, learning from your mistakes in-game so you can improve. Every play in the NFL is a learning experience. So for those of you guys out there who are pundits of Kenny Pickett starting week 1 and you still feel like he needs more time, what about him has showed you that he needs more time? Are you just saying he needs more time because you don't want to start a rookie quarterback? Like, what is this about? Are we trying to see the best quarterback play? Because the best quarterback to me right now is Kenny Pickett. I would love to see Mitchell Trubisky perform with the second and third stringers in a preseason matchup. I would love to see it. So I think if I'm Mike Tomlin and I had to make the decision right now who my starting quarterback would be for this season, it would be Kenny Pickett. The rookie has came out. He's earned his way up. It wasn't like he was just automatically given the keys and he was getting first team reps. He started out as the third string quarterback going into training camp. And he already has became arguably the best quarterback on the roster within the span of the preseason. The guy went from QB3 to arguably QB1 in the span of a month pretty much. So if he's able to do that, why not give him the reins? He obviously has earned his spot. He obviously has showed a lot of signs that he has what it takes to be a starter. And on top of that, the dude hasn't really made any big mistakes in the preseason. You can say, well, JT, everything in the preseason is simplified. It's going to be different. I understand that. But you can make that same argument for Mitchell Trubisky. I just think that for Pittsburgh, I would have to roll with Kenny Pickett. I think that it's fair to say that he has been the most impressive and the best performing quarterback that we have seen up to this point of the preseason. But you guys let me know, do you guys think that the Steelers should start Kenny Pickett week 1 against the Cincinnati Bengals? I appreciate you guys for listening to this episode of the JT Sports Podcast. Remember that every video that's uploaded on the channel is available in audio format on every single podcasting platform, wherever you get your podcasts from. Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, the JT Sports Podcast is available. And I will see you guys shortly with another episode of the JT Sports Podcast.